I love animes that try to push things further when they tackle a specific genre and try to give it a twist by adding new elements to the story or characters that make them stand out from the rest of the dozens of animes we get nowadays each season. Like a Young, with their slice of life genre, mashed with its musical aspects that makes it feel very different, with episodes filled with the tranquility of the high school life and giving it a twist with its musical aspect. Or Attack on Titan, that began as another shonen anime with an edgy narrative and protagonist. I swear, when the series began, I truly thought that it was going to be another mindless action anime, just for it to later becoming one of the biggest anime in this last decade, filled with mystery, drama, and meaningful deaths that impacted the story and impacted us as watchers as well. Like Berserk, that has inspired many good and not so good TV adaptations, ready to try and give rendition to the deepness of the narrative, the visuals, and its characters. Other shows like Dorohedoro, where although I personally love the manga, I didn't find the translation to an anime adaptation to carry that same emotion of craziness, humor, and detail in the horror the manga pulls perfectly in its pages. That's why I think Re:Zero has one of the best premises in this mix of genres and in its adaptation from its light novels, as it changes the old isekai genre that is still prevalent to this day. For example, a major strength of this anime is how it handles what the Dorohedoro anime adaptation couldn't, which is that it balances between the horror, humor, and craziness in one show that keeps us always wondering about what's happening and what's going to happen. We're already in the season 2, but after 24 episodes of the first season and 7 episodes, as this script is being written, of the second season, I still don't know who the real villain is, or why Subaru is in that world, or why he was chosen. Yes, we have the main antagonist, Satella, but we still don't know anything about her, aside that she controls Subaru to an extent, and it seems that given the last episodes, that there are even more actors that are supporting this witch, so it gives me a strong sense of deja vu because in another recent anime, we had this kind of plot. Remember when for dozens of episodes, we didn't know what was happening in Attack on Titan when it first aired? It wasn't until the third season when we are finally building the plot, and each revelation works amazingly because the author had everything planned from the beginning, which gives each new plot point a huge meaning instead of feeling like the author is working against the time, which there are cases that work well. But I generally agree with authors like Stephen King that tell us that the best stories are the ones that are already planned out. At least, I think that works better for stories where there's a lot of mystery to uncover little by little. It gives that sense of surprise without jeopardizing the narrative at long term. Now, we don't know if Re:Zero author Tapei Nagatsuki will be able to pull what Hayame Isayama was able to do with Attack on Titan, but as things go, it is likely that we will keep having many surprises in the future with a strong narrative as Re:Zero approaches each major revelation. Unless Tapei decides to pull a Darling in the Franxx at the end, which, if that's the case, I'm just gonna head out. But back to the main theme, Re:Zero is balancing impressively many genres in one anime. In one episode, we can have a pretty happy moment with Subaru cracking bad jokes, and in the next minute, we will have a scene filled with dread, while watching everyone die in horrific, censored ways over and over again, and you can feel that mental decayment on Subaru. You can feel his pain, his absolute desperation. But then, things become normal again for a moment when Subaru goes back in time when he dies. Or the next thing you know is that Subaru is somehow dead again, and that sense of repeat, combined with moments of relaxation for Subaru and us the viewers, is in what, in my opinion, keeps this show so entertaining. Because we can have moments for breathing, for having fun, for understanding little by little more of this mysterious world, along with Subaru, so that keeps us on our toes for many episodes, trying to solve the puzzle on how not to die after 5 seconds of encountering a new enemy. This is a good way of presenting an anime heavy in lore and suffering, because we don't get bored with over exposition. Even more, we search for that exposition and lore desperately, and we make theories that likely will fall down like a house of cards in the next episode. We are intrigued about what is happening in the world, so that lets the anime have some episodes which are mostly dedicated for exposition without it feeling like it's dragging. The next thing I find fascinating is how we still don't know much about this world. Subaru lives in this bubble when no one explains to him and knows that much and how this world works. And even if he gets the world because he is immersed in it, there's always new stuff thrown at him that makes the world feel new, and with many new opportunities of presenting to us new characters, mysteries, and landscapes that add to the story. Imagine how dire and dark this story would be if Subaru wouldn't have that exaggerated personality of his that likes to make bad jokes even when literally everyone around him is being either edgy, serious, straight up lunatic, or tell us their sad past story, which is literally everyone in that world. Subaru as a character brings that balance and humor to a world that doesn't take prisoners. I appreciate when stories do that, when they push that surreal horror with more manageable elements like humor to keep us intrigued and laughing. Back to a past example, the Dorohedoro manga also manages its own craziness with the characters reacting towards all of that violence and death like it's a normal thing, because it is a normal thing for them. And we can see how differently it affects the people in that world. If they are very strong, they will be okay and enjoy the ride. But if they are weak, they will likely lose their sanity, like Ebisu. Even with all its weirdness, that intrigue on who is Kaiman is never lost because in my opinion, the manga pushes itself from being just dark. And that's why I think most good stories do. They don't stick just to one genre and try to make it work. They combine many genres and scenes that can keep us wanting for more. This works better for stories with many episodes like books, series, or movies that expand into trilogies or more, or animes with many seasons, as they need to keep an audience watching for long periods of time over many months and even years. That's why I think a lot of anime and series get stale after a while, because it is the same formula, repeated over and over again without any new substantial surprise. And even if they try to make the surprises feel meaningful, if they don't change a little bit of what they presented us in the beginning, we will lose interest, as it will feel like a copy of past shows or past episodes. This is why I also applaud animes like SAO, because it is reimagining its world and searching for new stories, even if Kirito stays the same boring tapioca level character. And that's the final strength of ReZero. The series takes this general premise that the protagonist can die over and over again, but because we still don't know what is happening around Subaru, and because every time he encounters a new antagonist, he has to find a way to either kill this new enemy, escape death from the hands of best waifu, and try not to get straight up crazy from being just in an absolute crazy world, is always entertaining. Because as Subaru has the power level of a butter knife, it is surprisingly very effective to keep us watching on how Subaru will solve the problem at hand. Also, trying to find renewed strength in the people that surround him, and that he slowly and in between many episodes he comes to know and love, it is a refreshing way not to let this concept be still quickly. And as we are surrounded by a bell that keeps us focused on the problem at hand while giving a little bit of information each time Subaru clears a boss, it keeps the mystery of the world and this story, well, a mystery. So because of the strengths of this anime has, I think it can be up there with Attack on Titan and one of the biggest anime of this decade, inspiring many to create new stories. Of course, this story, like any story, has flaws, waiting for new episodes and even sadistically see new ways in how Subaru will suffer.